Jesse has Down syndrome, so I knew immediately upon birth that Jesse was going to have special needs. Jesse went to Our Lady of Confidence, which is a school for special needs children, more isolated. So I kind of put him in a bubble, protective bubble. And yes, there was issues. There was the issue of, knowing that he was never going to read. His social skills were the part that were going to get him his job. People want to be around Jesse because of his social skills. Jesse communicates. He has a great sense of humor. He loves life. He loves to be part of things. Every morning to him is the best day of his life. He never wants to worry me or upset me. So he likes to color code so that I'm not upset nor I'm not hurt. It takes me a while to get the truth. Something had happened during the day, and to him, and for fear that I might be upset, he holds back from telling me what exactly is happening to him. When Jesse was in school, I thought about what's going to happen after graduation, but I also thought it was a million years away, and it was, something that I could put on the back burner. But we all know, all of a sudden, it's smack in front of your face. What I did know, and I believed, that Jesse was never going to work in a workshop. That would have been a safety zone for me, and it would have been a safety zone for him, but it would not have been fair to him. I knew I needed to put him somewhere working with people and communicating and having the activities of a normal person going to work every day. I knew Jesse was going to somehow be able to handle a job. What he was going to be able to do, I had no idea. And that's where the job coach came in to play. And she took Jesse to many, many places. He learned how to roll dough for pizza, fold shirts, clean tables, whatever it was. There was many, many different areas that she had taken Jesse to see exactly what could he do and what would he like to do. We ended up getting a job at Pizza Hut, which, it took several times and it took perseverance. But it worked out, and today he's employed. It's very difficult to let your children go. To top it off with someone who has special needs, it's a lot harder as a mom to say, okay, I'm going to send you out into this great big world, but you need to do it. And I did it for my other children, and I wanted the same thing for him. I wanted him to be successful in life. I wanted to prepare him with all the tools. There was a lot of fear, and there was a lot of anxiety letting him go. I need to go to work, and I need to be comfortable, and I have to know that Jesse's safe. And it's very hard. It's very difficult. But one day, one of the coworkers at Pizza Hut called me, and she said she had happened to be backed up. And Jesse went over to her and said, "Can I help you?" Just little things like having someone call you and say, yeah, not only can he do his job, but then he noticed that someone else was having trouble, and he stepped up to the plate and said, "Can I help you?" That makes me very, very proud. That makes me feel, yes, I did give him the tools that he needed to be out there. He goes to work 2 days a week. He works on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That is perfect for me. He's never going to work a 40-hour week. He got his paycheck before Christmas, and he purchased his Christmas presents for everybody with his own money. Jesse has had 5 managers in the 2.5 years that he's been at Pizza Hut. So each time there's a new manager, there's change. Jesse has to acclimate to the new boss, and the manager has to adjust to Jesse and dealing with somebody with special needs. That's when the job coach comes into play. As soon as I hear that there's another manager, I immediately call the job coach. I say, "Are you aware that there's a new manager?" And she will go out and she will introduce herself and, smooth things over. And any problems that occur, I immediately call the job coach, and she acts as the intermediate between the workplace and me and Jesse. Jesse is in a waiver program. The waiver was fairly new when Jesse became of age that he was going to graduate. Jesse is able to bathe himself. He's able to dress himself. Of course, I have to do his wash and lay his clothes out. His meals are always prepared for him. Jesse has recently been diagnosed with diabetes, very brittle, as they would say, diabetic. Very, very scary time for all of us in the family. At one point, his job coach called and said to me, when is Jesse coming back to work? And I said, "Oh, no, he can't be working. He's diabetic." And she said to me, "What do you mean? People with diabetes go to work every single day. I'm diabetic myself." I said, "You are?" She again went and smoothed everything out, and Jesse went back to work with his diabetes. Jesse's pretty good with following directions. I mean, he can only take one directive at a time, and he can stay on task until it's completed. Sometimes he's not very happy about his task. I know sometimes he's not very happy when he's told, he needs to do the dishes at Pizza Hut. He'd rather be filling the ice tray or doing something with the dough. But I've never heard of any complaints, and he does his job, and he does it well. Jesse's communication skills are good, but he cannot get all the details. Sometimes they have meetings, or they're going to change his day at work, so we communicate through either letter or phone. In the beginning, when Jesse first started working, his job coach was with him the entire time. So you're very comfortable. You drop him off. There she is. She's waiting for him. She stays with him. And when you go to pick up, there she is again, waiting to give you your child. As time goes on, she starts diminishing her time there. And I get a phone call. "Linda, I'm not going to be there when he first gets there. I want to see him clock in himself. I'll be there in about a half hour. I'll let him get set up, get the things out that he needs to start his day, and I'll be there about a half hour later." Well, then you sit and you pray and you wait for the phone call, and you get the phone call, and well, he did wonderful. He went in, he clocked in, and everything was perfect. And then finally comes the day where you get the phone call. It says, "Linda, I'm not going to be there at all tomorrow. He's going to be on his own." We've gotten to the point where, okay, he's being so successful. He needs to be by himself. He needs to show to himself and to his coworkers that he can do this job by himself. Does it ever get easy? Does the anxiety ever go away? No, it's always there. To relieve the anxiety, I have to trust people. I have to put a lot of faith and a lot of trust that there are a lot of wonderful people out there. And my son's going to be okay. Parents who are afraid to let their child work, I've been there. I've seen it. I have more of a fear of not letting Jesse out to go to work. I have more of a fear of him sitting home watching a TV and regressing. That is more of a fear to me than letting him walk out that door and go to work every day. Besides work, Jesse has a full schedule. I never treated Jesse any differently than his brother or sister. And when they had their team that they were playing ball with and they were doing all the things that normal kids did, I went out and I found Jesse a team. Jesse's been with Special Olympics since he's probably been 5 or 6 years old. He does just about every sport there possibly is, and he recently has returned from China, where he competed in World Games in aquatics. Not only do I let him go to work every day, I allowed him to go to Shanghai, China without me. Jesse was selected to go to represent the U.S. in Shanghai, China in June of 2006. He was going as aquatics. He was the only male from Pennsylvania who was selected to go. But in June of 2006 is when Jesse was diagnosed with the diabetes. The dreams of him going to Shanghai were completely shattered as far as I was concerned. There was no way I could allow this boy to go around the world without me. His coaches start calling and they said, we'll swim right beside him. You need to let him get back in the pool. That was my first step, was letting him back into the pool. Then I called Special Olympics and I said, I don't think he'll be able to come because of this diabetes. Special Olympics said, we're never going to say that he's not going to be able to attend World Games. If he's not attending World Games, it needs to come from you. It's you're the one who has to make the decision. As sick as he was, all he talked about was, I'm still going to go to Shanghai. I'm still going to compete. I'm still going to represent the U.S. Deep inside of me, I just wanted to take this boy and never let him out of my arms again. I had to let him go. I had to take all the support that was given me. So I let him go. And he won a bronze medal in the 200. He won a silver in the 400. And he won a fourth place in the 800 meter. For Jesse's future, I want him to be successful and I want him to be happy. And right now, he is both of those plus.
Danny was diagnosed with special needs when he was 6 years old. Through school, we found out that he wasn't doing too well, so we had him tested. When I was told Danny had mental retardation, I had explained to my other sons what was going on, what's going on with Danny. So you go through a lot of emotions quickly. You know, first you're kind of feeling sorry for yourself, and then you start feeling sorry for Danny, and then you're mad at the world, and then you settle in and just decide you gotta get this guy ready and get him going. Danny wouldn't sit still; he'd walk around the room. In the public school that he had went to, he was stabbed 3 times. So I had to get him out of that school and transfer him to Our Lady of Confidence. A lot of the anxieties and worries about Danny when he went to Confidence went away. I felt he was really secure. He was learning. His attitude when he came home was better. He was back to his same old Danny, smiling, having a good time. Danny's social skills improved from when he started to go to Our Lady of Confidence. Between that and Special Olympics, as a family, we observed that he was starting to talk, he was starting to respond to questions that he wasn't responding or talking to. Wasn't as bored as easy. He actually went to bed at night, slept well. So there was a lot of changes in the family. Danny, to this day, has trouble with his emotions. A lot of stuff happened to him when he was young, so he's very defensive. There was one day that was really sticks in our mind is. I looked out the door and Danny was sitting on the ground and the kids were singing around him and spitting on him. And that was, he come in the house and he said that, he was really upset and he came into the house and I wiped the spit off him. Every time the kids would do this to him, they would run across the street. And he said, "Can I cross the street today?" And I said, "You sure can." And so Danny went over and solved all the issues on his own, and I think he was a much stronger person from that. I would say the first thing that you wake up in the morning, the last thing you go to bed at night is thinking about Danny's future. What's going to happen when we're not around? It's a stressor. I mean, it puts a lot of stress on all of us in the family. I have sons that want to take him in, which Danny doesn't want to go in. He wants to live independently, and hopefully, if that's his wish, he accomplishes it. I was concerned Danny wouldn't be able to do a job. early on because of the way, his energy, the way he wouldn't sit still, he couldn't concentrate. But then one day he just started picking up tools around the house. Family would come into the house and see Danny taking door hinges off and door locks, and they'd be like, why are you letting him do it? But he was kind of teaching himself something, and when the opportunity came at conference, they said that he could get a job at Home Depot. What better than Home Depot for tools? So the biggest fear was getting along with the customers, his coworkers. Getting on the bus was the huge issue with us. To this day, it still bothers me that when he gets on the bus, when he comes home, that's when I feel good. But then again, I had a great job coach, Alan, from Path. He came in, he met Danny, worked a lot with Danny, and then taking the bus, he assured us what he did was right. He trained him to go, and never had a problem, never. My fear with Danny getting on the bus is a confrontation or getting off at the wrong stop, being confused, not being able to read, and not being able to make the decisions. It's a big fear. If there's a confrontation, I don't know how he's going to react. Is he going to sit on the floor and cry? Is anyone going to help him? Is he going to sit there and get beat up? I mean, there's a ton of, issues with this. Even after Alan trained him, we followed the bus for a long time, watched him, but after a while, you get confidence in him. He's making independent decisions. I worry about the future. It's always going to be on my mind, but he's more or less taking control of that part of his life. He no longer has to come into us and report what his day was like, who he talked to, what he did. It's pretty solid. He's making our job a lot easier, being so independent. I'm not happy taking the back step, but he's making us do it. He's just so much more independent. Work's doing everything for him. There was one time I went into work when Danny, he snuck down to help his buddy put cinder blocks away. And Danny's job that day was to put drills away. And his boss, when I walked in, Danny was crying. And his boss said, Danny snuck down to do that. I don't want to write him up for it. My reaction to that was, you got to write him up. So he has adult consequences to pay. So he's learning a lot of life lessons. He's grown up. Danny doesn't need any help getting ready for work. He sets his alarm, gets up in the morning, showers, completely independent. We don't have to get up and remind him of anything. And, the only thing, one concern was that he leaves for work. During the school year, the kids were on the bus. Danny would leave the house an hour and a half early to go to work. So his boss would see him in the break room, and he just figured it out that Danny was nervous with these kids being on the bus at the same time. So he changed Danny's work time to 7:30, which, eased everything up. So, but he is independent, completely independent with his job. Danny, with his job, he's interacting with the public. His problem is he can't read or write, can't do any math. It's a very long day when he works. Customers come up and show him something, he can't read it. His bosses have adapted to Danny's not being able to read by highlighting things on his job work list for the day. But working with the public every day, having to tell people, I don't know how to read. And people just don't understand that. He doesn't cope with it until he comes home. So that's a long day. At one time I thought Danny could work a full-time job, but with that kind of stress, it's not possible. When you see Danny, you just expect so much more. You expect him to be able to read. You expect him to be able to do all these things. And when I tell people he's mentally retarded, they just go, well, he doesn't look it. Danny today, after working for Home Depot for 7 years, can complete just about every task he's given by his boss. At home, different story. He's not going to complete anything. But at his job, he takes pride in completing an assignment. And just recently, this year, Home Depot doesn't give out Christmas bonuses, but they gave him our Christmas bonus for being Retail Person of the Year. So he was really proud and took us all out to McDonald's. Having a job coach for Danny was so important to us. He came into the house, he made you feel that he has this guy. He knows what he's going to do with him. He understands what his problems are. When he walks out the door with Danny, I know that everything's going to be all right. He convinced me, he showed me that this guy can do it. I didn't think Danny could do it. I was scared to death. When Alan stopped servicing Danny and Danny was on his own, we followed the bus for a while. But he caught on, too. He saw us, we didn't know, and he was really upset about it. The anxiety is going to be there. There's no way that it's not. I mean, he's got to travel. We can't control everything in his life, but it's what he wants. I mean, it's difficult, you know, especially now. His boss gave him new hours, and he's working 6 o'clock at night till 11 at night. He wants to come home at 11 by himself, like all the other guys in work. He wants to be a man. So, but I've been picking him up at 11 o'clock at night, and he's really mad about this. So sooner or later, I'm going to have to let that go, too. To reduce the stress and the anxiety for me is to understand how important this is to Danny. That does it all. I mean, I could occupy myself doing a ton of things, but the bottom line is it's what he wants, and that reduces the anxiety for me. It's going to be hard. It's a long road. You're going to be nervous, and there's nothing I can say to take that away. But get to know your job coach. Understand what he's trying to do. Listen to him. He's really, you know, if you have a very experienced job coach, or if you don't feel right with the job coach, ask for another one. But if you feel good and you feel confident, let the man or woman do his job. The more you step back, the better off it's going to go, the smoother it's going to go. Whether it be paratransit, that would ease up my worries, but it's still, if it's SEPTA, you just have to grin and bear it and sit back and know that this is a big step. It's a big step for your kid, but it's necessary. I mean, it's his life. It's going to make him feel better. Its self-esteem is built. I want what he wants. He wants to live independently. I think he'll need support. I hope he would continue with his job, stay at the same place. I hope that his brothers are able to take a back seat and let him live independently when we're gone. As a parent of somebody special, you hope for his future to be bright. You hope for everything to work out right. But in the end, you're not going to be around. And that's the tough thing for me. I think he's got a bright future. And I would hope that he gets a girlfriend. I hope he continues with his Special Olympics, which has been enormous in his life. His social life's full. I mean, he has no time. He's the national powerlifting champion. He played for the 2001 World Games floor hockey team. He was alternate for China. He set 3 national records at the national games in Iowa, where he lifted 474 pounds. The powerlifting thing is just, it's unbelievable, but it's came out of that. And when we go to other gyms and they call them gym wars, we'll get invited, but they don't know we're Special Olympics. And these are regular gyms. And we'll go in, and when Danny wins, they'll go, "What gym are you from?" And we'll say, "Special Olympics." And they go, "Oh my God, I got beat by a Special Olympian."
We didn't realize that JJ had special needs until probably around 2.5. However, we started to see some speech issues, some fine motor, some gross motor. He was showing some behavioral issues. He still didn't have speech. He was biting, he was pinching, he was hitting. Early school was very hard. Well, it was hard for him and for us. As a mom or a dad, wanting to know how his day went was very hard. You never really knew. I had to rely on the teacher or an aide or even a bus attendant. So that's kind of scary. We heard of Our Lady of Confidence. So we moved him. Jay graduates, I can't even believe I'm saying this, he graduates June 3rd, 2008. So as excited as we are, and he is very excited, we're also scared to death. He's also still that innocent, simple, happy guy, not a kid anymore. JJ's very social, people person. We all know that there are people out there, and not everyone is as nice as you or I or who we've surrounded him by. So my fear, I guess, is for him that he doesn't know the mean world or the mean people. We started thinking about the future, honestly, years ago. I probably have more anxiety than my husband, but we know that he's going to work because he is a social person. We never doubted that. We always knew that he's going to do something. He's going to be out there in his community. Jay was chosen for a transition pilot program. When it was presented to me, I wasn't afraid. I jumped right on it. We formed a team. There was a mentor, there was a job coach, parents. I chose one of JJ's vocational teachers from school, and I also chose my niece. So it was various people who had a part of JJ's life in some aspect. So that made me feel better because I know Jay as my son. Other people know Jay in the school setting. My niece knows Jay in the outside as normal as could be. So I just thought that everyone on that team had a little different piece of JJ and, wanted what was best for him. He loves his job. He's working at Holy Family University in the cafeteria doing various jobs. Andrea, which is his job coach, started with him, worked the whole shift, and I think over there, within a month, she's completely gone. That made me very, very anxious. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's not going to know what to do, or he's just going to stop. He's not going to continue. He did better than what, we thought. And she actually just comes in maybe 1 hour a week and stops by, and that's kind of like a social visit. Hey, how you doing? And she checks in with the supervisor and the people that he works with. And again, I think that's what it depends on too. The group of people there are his coaches. The importance of having that sense of security of where your child or your young adult is going for work is enormous. I feel very, very comfortable if I could talk to his supervisor and say, let him stay here for life, let him work every day. I'd be a happy woman. I was concerned that the jobs would be hard to come by for JJ because of his special needs. He needs repetition. He needs to do a task over and over again. Some workforces aren't ready for that. You're going to have to find that right place that have the patience and the time to put out for him. He's a people pleaser. If he's not pleasing you, he kind of shuts down. He doesn't take criticism well, doesn't get angry, but gets hurt, takes it internally. So that's a hard thing for him. So that's why he needs that job coach, or he needs that constant reinforcement. As a mom, that hurts sometimes. But I think if they give him the chance, he can prove himself, and he does a good job. He has not yet wavered. We are hoping that very, very soon that he will be, and that will be a big, big load off both my husband and our shoulders. He is qualified for paratransit. I am not there yet. Again, I need to have control of that. I want to know where he is, when I'm going to see him, when I'm going to get him, who he's with. I may grow to accept that, but right now I'm not at that point. I think this adulthood or independence for me is going to be very hard. Like most parents, whether it's a normal child or a child with special needs, you know that no one knows your child like you. Transition is a hard thing for Jay, whether it's from one store to the next, from your house to the gym, from your house to basketball, but from the house to the job is going very well, so that's an accomplishment. He can get up on his own. I would have to wake him up. He's not really time conscious. He can bathe himself. He could dress himself. So as far as work goes, he has a uniform now. We need to lay that uniform out, or we need to say, okay, it's time to go to work. We need to be there to kind of set him up for everything. He wouldn't be able to do it on his own. He needs a lot of help or reinforcement. JJ's communication definitely has improved. He might not be right on target of what you're asking him, but he'll gladly share what he wants you to know about him or what is going on in his life. He's not always on task with his conversation. JJ has a a strong sense of belonging to our church. So this summer, in fact, JJ started as volunteering every day from 9 to 1, and JJ loved it. He could walk there, which was another beautiful thing. Felt so proud. He would come home, open the door, I'm home, and just had this biggest smile. And they loved him, and he loved it. And it's all in our community, and I guess that's the one thing that we're trying to really stick to, is let JJ be known in our community and make him feel that he really is a part of it. I think one thing that I've learned probably in the last 5 years, I used to wrap myself up with listening to everyone, and they're doing this, or I did this, and my son or my daughter, and I would make myself sick. And until, I don't even know when it happened, but I said, no, I got to stop this. I just have to think of JJ and go with what we think is right for him and not worry about everyone else. There are a lot of people out there to help you and give you suggestions, but you do have to kind of divert it and signal in on what your child's needs are. JJ is a very busy individual. He belongs to Special Olympics. He found his niche in bowling. He goes to the Norcom Community Center. Norcom is another one of those places where Jay goes and feels like he's important. And it's not just special needs, it's integrated. He speaks to the people who are just members there. He's going to talk to you. And he's very active with our family. He's a mummer. JJ will be walking the Mummers Day Parade. That's just a family tradition. My husband's a mummer. His father was a mummer. What I want for the future, I want him to be in our community. I want him to be happy. I want him to feel that he belongs. I want him to, I want someone there to take care of him.